Want to welcome everybody to the Coaches in the Mouth podcast. Got Coach Bray Cook here, the Mouth Brent Bender. Hey, we got a special guest today, and I'm looking forward to talking to him. Four-time state champion Bo Hembree. Man, doing some research with him in his career, he's been through some crazy games and been through some crazy situations. What do you look forward to hearing from Coach Hembree?
Well, I'm going to ask him what their secret was at the All-Star game last year when they absolutely kicked my butt on the other sidelines. So I got a lot of questions for him. We had a tough time dealing with him when we were playing, what was that, last June, I guess. It was hot, and our sideline struggled a little bit. So I'm really interested to ask him a couple questions about that game.
I'll do it. Mouth, I know you want to talk to him about his team and a little bit about his conference.
I want to talk about the 4A in total.
4A in total, which he'll be in the mix. His teams are always in the mix. Mm-hmm. Well, let's bring him on right now. Welcome, Bo Hembree, four-time state champion. Great to have you on the show. Doing research, Bo, and we were just talking about it, you've been part of some crazy situations. So, I mean, in 26 years, I believe it's probably year 26 for you going into it, I believe, 25 or 26. 26, you're just like me. And, man, researching this you is unbelievable. Number one, all the success that you've had in one spot over the years, but just the crazy situations. Let's get into this and about what makes up Bo Hembree. Your dad, James, was a longtime head coach in the state of Arkansas. You were Coach's kid like me, grew up and bounced around a little bit here and there, and you're around it all the time. And you are one of the most competitive people I've ever been around in anything that you ever do. Talk to me about growing up with your brothers. You had a brother that's a coach. Talk to me about growing up in that coaching environment.
My dad, when he was the head coach at Parkin when I was 2 or 3 years old, and won a state championship there in 1977, and went from there to Marianna, Arkansas, and that's northeast Arkansas at its best right there, and that's where I went to school from, kindergarten to 5th grade, and then went from there to Osceola, where I went from 6th grade all the way to graduation. But as you know, being a coach's kid, I mean, you're going to be at the field house all the time, and you're with him. I was with my dad from the time I woke up in the summer to the time I went to the bed. I've lined fields off, I've mowed fields, I've done everything at an early age. So I knew that's what I wanted to do from a young kid, was be a football coach. And God's blessed me to put me in a great situation to do that. And I've been very successful, doing it. But a lot of the credit goes to him, raising me and my mom, and then, being around it all my life, and then going to UCA with Coach Keppel, who pretty much took me under his wing and kind of led me and took care of me, and then here I am in Warren, Arkansas.
Well, you go to UCA, and Brooks Hollingsworth's there. There are a lot of great coaches there. You're coming out of college, and I'm sitting at El Dorado, and you pull up, and I think we're fixing to hire you. Talk to us a little bit about that situation. Coach Rescher was there, and I look back on that. Me as the offensive line coach, you coach quarterbacks. Keith Fimple was on defense, Butch Gray, and Tad Stewart. I look back on what that staff could have been if we'd end up working out for you. You try to go to El Dorado and go through that situation.
Well, Coach Osman gave me a great opportunity at UCA to help out for 2 years, and I was a graduate assistant. But I graduated a semester, and Coach Rescher called me, and they had a job, ALE job was supposed to be open, and I guess I came during that break, and it just kind of fell through. I remember seeing you, and Roosevelt Turner was there,
yeah.
And Fimp was there, so I was looking forward to that, and it kind of fell through, and it was going to come open during the summer, and Coach Rescher, me and him stayed in contact, and I don't know really what happened, but I kind of backed out a little bit and came to Warren, and boy, it sure worked out the best for me, that's for sure.
Isn't it crazy? I mean, you're one step of being one place and one step the other, and you look at your career. So you go to Warren, you're an assistant there for a year or two, and you take over as head coach. And you come in and your doubles, your spread offense. and the spread offense was starting to take off a little bit in Northwest Arkansas and over here with some guys. And, Brooks Hollingsworth was doing it at Arkansas Tech. Down in South Arkansas, everybody's still running tall sweep and playing, big physical football. You came in throwing the ball, some of those old guys, and I was there during that time, were kind of cutting their eyes going, does Bo know what he's doing? Is this going to work? And you believed in it 100% because you'd call me and say, Jeff, quit running tall sweep and spread some guys out there and throw them the ball because we had all that great athletes. Talk to me about that going into it because you were doing it down there before everybody else.
Yeah, when I got to Warren, we were in the power. My job, my first year as assistant coach, I was the wide receiver coach. So I was the smartest guy we had out there. He ran and made sure he knew what the play was from the sideline to the huddle. So, when you're running a power I, you only coaching one guy. We was in one tight power I, and we'd hand the ball off, I don't know how many times, like beating your head against the wall. And you look out there, and there's 102 guys in the box, it seemed like. But I was just an assistant. I didn't do anything. I mean, I just hung out really for a whole year. And then that next spring, we had some good athletes. So we'd go outside. Coach Arnold hired me here, and he was a power eye guy. He was a veer guy, power eye guy, and we'd go outside and start tossing around a little bit. And he wasn't for it, but he wasn't against us doing that in the summer. So we'd come out and just throw it around. And that next year, my second year, we'd go into Watson Chapel scrimmage game, and we don't have very much success at all. I mean, none. I mean, I don't know if we have a first down running the power eye, and so we come in it was on a Tuesday night. I remember on a Wednesday he came in. He says, "Hey man, I want to look at this new. I want to see if we can spread it out and throw it." Nobody down here was doing it. I mean, you had McGee in our conference running the wing tee. You had Fordyce running the wing tee. You had Star City running the split back veer. So you had a lot of old school offenses in this conference, and so he said, "Hey, let's look at it." So we played again. We played Stuttgart that next Friday. So I had about 6 days to install the whole offense, and we go 4 wide, and we go play Stuttgart. And George Burke was the head coach of Stuttgart at that time, and he was kind of shocked. We came out in the spread, and we put some numbers up that night. We tied 6-6. And it was we couldn't. I think we were like 9 of 30 throwing the football, and it was just not a very good night. But we only had a week to put it in. But you could see us getting better. And then the next week we go to Monticello and we open it up and we get better. And then by week 3 we go to a really good Fordyce team and we scored 35 points in the first half. So we just kept improving, and then the direction was going towards spreading the football out. And we ended up McGee won the state championship that year, and I remember week 8 we're playing McGee at home, and we meeting on Sunday, and we're like, man, they're really good. They'd won it 2 years in a row, I think, at that time. And well, anyway, we go in and we throw it all the way around. I mean, we're throwing it all over the place that night, and we're winning 45-43 with about 2 minutes to go in the game, and they end up beating us 49-45. And that was probably the night that Warren accepted the spread. And at the end of that year, I got the head job. Coach Arnold took an administration job, and I got to be the head coach. And that next spring, we started 7-on-7 in South Arkansas, which has never been heard of around here. And we started doing it, and we had to bring teams in. I remember Darrell Patton being at Bryant. He came down. Jerry Clay at Lake Hamilton, he came down. There wasn't no teams from South Arkansas doing it. We were the only team doing it. So when we held a 7-on-7 out here at our field, people came to Warren, Arkansas that's never been to Warren, Arkansas. Lake Hamilton and Warren is not heard of. Bryant to Warren. And that's the teams that we attracted to do 7-on-7 because there wasn't any teams in South Arkansas doing it at the time. And, we were one of the first ones to do it.
Well, there's no doubt. And you just talk about you out there the first time, you're 9 for 30. You're hearing the critics. And you've always believed in something and went on and been successful. You go in your first year, you're head coach and have a lot of success early. I mean, you get back-to-back state championships, at a very, very, very young age. And it, put you on the map. You had a lot of good players, and no respect to Coach Arnold, but if Brett Smith's probably sitting in the power eye, people aren't finding that guy, And you go on, talk about your back-to-back at an early age, looking back at yourself now, what you wish you'd have known now, but just through that experience going back-to-back state championships.
Well, I got the job in 2000, and it was a process, trying to install an offense. But I had a really good group of kids coming. They were all sophomores, and Reed McKinney was going to be a junior, and and it kind of just nobody around here was doing it. We were seeing nobody knew how to defend it at the time, and that's just honest God truth. Nobody knew how to line up to it. And me being at UCA under Coach Wade at the time, Charlie Wade and Brooks Hollingsworth, and we were spreading it out there and bringing it to a high school. It was a lot. It was new to the head coaches around here, and I remember people, the old heads, your dad, my dad, Kenny Smith, who's a great mentor of mine, who I student taught under, who I love to this day. But they would tell me all the time, Coach, if you throw the football, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad. You can incomplete pass, interception, and I'm like, well, if you run the football, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad. You can fumble and you can lose yards. So, to me, it's the same. So I wanted to throw it, and they wanted to run it. But, we would go in, and it wasn't the first year as head coach, we started laying a foundation and had a really good group of sophomores and some juniors, that like 6 juniors at that time. And we ended up going 8-4. We lost to Ozark 50-18. I remember that game like it was yesterday. We were up 18-15 at halftime, and they had to go to the second half. They had to go get they shoot that shotgun off. They ran out of bullets in the second half. And I also remember this story right here too. And Lanny, hope Lanny watches this because he'll start laughing. But in week 8 we play at McGee, and they were back-to-back state champions at the time, and they beat us. They were up 48-18. And when we were throwing it all over the place, and we were throwing it to them instead of us, and it wasn't a good night for us. But I told our guys when we got in the truck, and they went for 2, ran the swinging gate to get 50. They ran the swinging gate to get 50, and boy, I was just like, man, is this they're not going the way I thought it was going to go. But when we got back, I told our guys, we're not going to wear red. I don't care if we're not wearing red to school, we're not wearing red at the field house. We're running. And we made it a point that, hey, when McGee comes to town next year, we were going to be ready, and that was our motto, because they were the standard in 4A or 3A football at the time was McGee and Nashville. And when I got the job at Warren, the first person I called was Billy Laird at Nashville. I said, I want to play. I don't care where we play at, I want to play. And he did. I mean, Billy Laird was a great guy. He put us on the schedule. But that was the two top teams in 3A at that time. Was 3 of them: McGee, Boonville, and Nashville. And we scheduled national play during non-conference, and obviously McGee was in our conference. Well, the next year, McGee comes, and Coach Dowse has gone to West Memphis, and it was 55-0 at halftime. And I still have to apologize to Coach Hyatt every time I see him, because our kids were ready to play that night. Reed broke a touchdown record by halftime. It was just one of them deals where that's probably the night. That year, the 2 games that stand out to me were we went to the Hill in week 3 in 2001, in the Hills at Nashville, and they had I don't know how many game winning streak, but it was an unbelievable home winning streak, and it was the craziest game I ever been a part of. And in fact, I think you can pull it up on YouTube and watch it now, but I think Hootens might have put it out there last year when they ran that when Thomas got the job and put all that film out there. But I looked up. With 8 minutes to go in the first quarter, it was 28-28. It was 8 touchdowns in like 4 minutes of the game. And I remember this: we're up 56-35 with 2 minutes to go in the half, and the lights go out. I still think that Coach Laird had somebody turn the lights on, and we had the ball. And he comes over there and he says, "Coach, if you'll go in at halftime, we'll get these lights fixed." So we went in. We still 2 minutes to go in the first half. We go in at halftime, and we come back out, and we ended up winning that game 76-42. And they were number 1 team in the state. And I knew then we had a shot. But then when McGee came to town in week 8, and it was 56-0 at halftime, I thought, man, this team's got a chance to win it all. And then so the next in week 9, we're playing Hamburg. For the conference championship, and at this time, Warren had not won a conference championship since 1962. And wow. We win that night, and the next Monday morning, I get called in by Superintendent Andrew Talbert here, and he says, "Coach, the board had a couple board members call me over the weekend, and this not happened since 1962." And he said, "I want to buy a ring. We want to buy rings for the kids." I said, "Well, we're not buying rings for the kids for a conference championship." He said, "Coach, it's been a great year, but you got to understand. I said, no, I said, if we buy a ring for a conference championship, we'll never win a state championship here. I said, you got the wrong guy for the job if you want to buy rings for a conference championship. And he said, well, we just talked about it again at the end of the year. And he come from Pine Bluff, too, at the time. And, Pine Bluff was Pine Bluff. That was Marion Glover's glory year. So that's what he knew in football was Pine Bluff. And he had been at Warren as a principal, and he didn't know there was a playoff. He'd always tell me, Coach, I didn't know there was playoffs back then. So, anyway, we go on and we start rolling, and then we played Boonville in the state championship game. And I remember you being there, your stuff sitting up in your normal seat, the state championship game. And we talked before the game. And, we're not stopping Boonville. We're not stopping them at all. And, they're running the option. Brad, I saw Brad a couple weeks ago and gave him a hard time again. But Brad, we can't stop him. He's running the veer, and they're pitching, and the running back, I think his name was Scott Beck at the time. He had a bruise on his forehead from hitting the goalpost about every other play. And we got the ball 4th and 5 on our own 20, and we'd go for it, run a hitch route. I
never forget as long as I live.
Go ahead, incomplete pass, and I think we're down to time. And anyway, somebody said something on the sideline like, Coach, you just went for it. I said, dude, they're going to score a lot quicker going 20 than they are 80. They're taking all the time. Anyway, we ended up battling and getting the ball back and getting back in the game, and probably one of the best high school football games I've ever been a part of. And, we win at 45-39. I remember you coming up to me after the game saying, Coach, what in the world are you doing throwing the ball 4th and 5 on your own 20? And, I just don't believe in punting very much. I think punting's giving up. It's just we punt now. We're not a no punt system, but we will punt. But if we're not stopping another team, there's no sense in giving them the ball. It's easier to score 20 than it is 80. They won't take up as much time either.
We're all sitting up. We always sit up underneath the press box, bunch of soul coaches, and everybody's has got the right answer up there because we obviously both playing in it. We're watching, so we've got the right answers, obviously. And that 4th down, he's on his own 20, which. You see that more today, but nobody did that back in the. It was like a cardinal sin, and so we're all waiting for the punt team to come out there, and all the old heads up there start running. Oh, this guy, what's he doing, man? And Bo walks right down there, and doesn't phase him at all. And I think you missed it one time. I think you got it another time, and. I'll never forget that. And I said, that guy ain't scared of nothing right there. I promise you. Well, let's get into it. So, and this creates, you're a young coach. You won back-to-back state championships. You had 4 Division I guys, and they all go to Tennessee.
We had Brett Smith, Terrence Hampton, and Roshan Fellows. And Roshan's mother had passed. All right, so first of all, let me go back. So as a sophomore, all these college coaches are making their runs like they do, and they come in. And Arkansas had an assistant coach, and I thought we had something special. And back then, nobody was throwing the football. We were throwing the football. Our guys were getting better every day. And Brett wasn't a very big kid as a sophomore. He was 6'2", probably 145 pounds, to be honest with you. He wasn't very, very big, very thick. The weight room is not what it was today. Back then, people just started lifting weights. Honestly, most of the time back when me and you played, and even our early years of coaching, you might did a little bit during the summer, but a lot of times you left in May and then come back till August. And so, and pretty much we started the summer program here back then. So it was just getting started. And I remember assistant coach Arkansas coming in and making his normal rounds, and he says, Coach, you got any players? And I introduced him to Reed McKinney, who was going to be a senior, and Brett Smith, who was a sophomore, and Roshan Fellows, who was a sophomore at the time, and Terrence Hampton. And he looked at Brett and said, well, you got to put some meat on you if you're ever going to play on the SEC. They'll kill you. Well, Brett remembered that. And so fast forward to that year, well, Roshan's mother had passed away when he was a junior. And Roshan wanted to get out of state. He made it a point that he was going to get away from Arkansas, so he committed to Tennessee really early in the process. And then Brett Smith was a parade All-American, which was kind of unheard of in Arkansas. You had a couple back then, but parade All-Americans back then were few and far between. So everybody's recruiting him. Arkansas is recruiting him, and so we're sitting here and Coach Caldwell from Tennessee's recruiting Brett, and Roshan's already committed, and I have no clue where Brett's going to go. I mean, I know people say that they know and all that, but I knew. I promise you, I didn't know. And this is honest. This is as true as I can tell you the story right here. So it was a Saturday in late January, early February. Arkansas was going to come down, and Tennessee was coming down the same day. Well, Coach Bo went to Oakland. That was the best place for me to be, and so I got out of town. And anyway, so I left and went to Oakland. And I didn't want to be seen with either side of it. That's Brett's decision. And well, I'm coming back in to Warren that night, and Coach Caldwell called. He said, "Hey, man," he said, "we were over at Brett's house. We couldn't see Brett." He said, "Arkansas was there. They wouldn't let us in. The mom wouldn't let us in. This is the Saturday before signing day." He said that the mom wouldn't let us in, and Coach Fulmer wants to meet you. He's never met you before. Weston was still got a picture. I guess Weston was just born. I mean, he's 20 now, so that was 18 years ago. And I guess he might have been 2 years old at the time. But anyway, they come to the house, and Coach Fulmer and Coach Caldwell and Coach and the wide receiver coach came down. And we're sitting in the house, sitting in the living room, and Arkansas had all their assistant coaches there. And Coach Nutt wasn't there, but they were circling my house, honking the horn, because Coach Fulmer was in the house. And so then Frank Broyles calls me while I'm there, wants to know why Philip Fulmer's in my house. And what Philip Fulmer did was he said, "Coach, I appreciate you. I want to write Brett Smith a letter to tell him to thank you. Obviously, he's going to Arkansas. This is on Saturday before signing day. He's going to go to Arkansas. But I want to write him a letter to say, hey, I appreciate you let me recruit him and all this." They were there probably 15, 20 minutes. They left, never saw Brett Smith. On Tuesday night, we go to Drew Central for a basketball game. And I'm telling you, I'm thinking he's going to Arkansas. And everybody, I mean, there's no doubt, I'm thinking he's going to Arkansas. And me and him has not had that conversation. We had like 8 or 9 guys signing that Wednesday morning, and it was packed. I mean, our place was packed. I'm talking about Channel 7, Channel 4, Channel 11. Well, and Brett was the last one that was going to sign. And we left out of the office. We're all 8 of us was meeting in the office, and we left out. And Alonzo Hampton was in there, who's the head coach of UAPB right now. And me and him were walking across, and we talked about it, and we said, "Hey, we think he's going to Arkansas." His mom and dad have an Arkansas hat and shirt on in the signing ceremony, so I thought for sure it's a done deal. And anyway, so we get over there, and it goes down the line. Roshan commits to Tennessee, so we play Rocky Top, and Terrence Hampton, the other one, he commits to Arkansas, so we played the Arkansas fight song. And then we had a couple more to go to. Caleb Bateman went to UCA. Kendra Rochelle went to UAM, and then we get to Brett Smith, and his mom and dad standing behind him with the Arkansas shirt on and an Arkansas hat on. So where would you think he was going?
Arkansas,
right? Well, he chose Tennessee, and then it went bad. It went bad. People booed and left, and it was it totally caught us off guard. It caught me off guard. I really thought he was going to Arkansas, by everything I had heard or knew the last couple of days before that. But it didn't happen. And then when that happened, it was pretty bad.
I remember all that. And that's the thing people don't understand. Coaches, guide your players to make the right decision. At the end of the day, it's their decision and goes on. Well, a couple of years later, you come into another crazy situation. I was actually – they were witnessing in 2006. Y'all play a long rival, and people, unless you're just dead to football and high school football in Arkansas, Warren and Nashville go way back. I mean, and y'all have had great games. You go in 2006. You're playing, and basically, and this is where I think this makes you a great coach. You're still doing a little spread, but you're running the ball now, and you've always adapted to your people and your scheme. And you go in 2006, you played Nashville. They come in, I think they're like 33-1 or 42-1 the last so many years, and y'all have had your battles back and forth. Games, you get behind, you come back, it's crazy. We wind up in double overtime. Never forget this. And I'm sitting in the press box at War Memorial. Nashville scores, kicks the extra point, makes it. Coach Hembree and the Warren Lumberjacks take it over, and they score, and they go for two. And they go for two. Hey, we'll listen to your side. I've heard Dawson's side. I was there. But the most bizarre thing, and I want to get into it with him, is, and I've seen the clips, and I'll let him say who's in or not. The play is ran. The referees don't say it's good. They don't say it's no good. They just run off the field. And I'll never forget everybody. And I remember Leland Barkley, because I was kind of in the media area, and he goes, well, who won? Just, it's real quiet up there. And all of a sudden, you guys run on the field, think you've won it. Nashville's sitting over there. They don't know what's going on. And the PA guy at the War Memorial goes, and I guess let's congratulate your new state champion, the Nashville Scrappers. And that's the way it ended. And everybody just sat there. It was nuts. And so, and this guy calls me, it's not 2 hours after the game. The crew was from Fort Smith. I'm not getting into names. And he's going, do you know these guys? Blah, blah, blah. Go ahead and tell all about that, because that's one of the craziest games I've ever witnessed.
Well, as head football coach, you have these 2-point plays you work every Wednesday, or I do. I work them every Wednesday, and I just got to make myself start calling them on Friday night. But anyway, so what happened there was we knew as soon as we scored we were going to go for two, and we had one of our 2-point plays called that we worked on, and it was a play that we hadn't showed all year, and we were out there lined up to get ready to run it. And I called timeout because, like, man, I don't know if I want to run that play or not, and you think it's going to be there, but it's something that's new, and you got to have a little courage to do that, something totally new. And because we were throwing to a guy that's never caught a pass all year too. So it was going to be like a tackle eligible play where we were in unbalanced. And anyway, lost confidence as we were going to the line of scrimmage. So I called timeout, and I said, you know what, we're going to put it in Jarius's hands. He's got us here, and the kids wanted Jarius to have the football, and I'm a firm believer. Hey, if it comes down to it, your best player ought to have football in their hands. So, we call a play and we run it, and nobody makes a call. Well, the two end guys don't make a call, and they're kind of looking around and then the umpire, who's 8 yards deep, comes in, and he's the one that starts waving no good. If you can see on film, he's the one that waves like. Probably, it felt like 2 or 3 minutes later, but it's probably 15 seconds later. He comes in running, and he's probably 7 or 8 yards deep in the end zone, and he has no clue if the guy scores or not. And so, anyway, they call it no good. We're going across the field to shake hands, and Nashville fans are loud. Boy, they're loud, and our fans are not very loud. And I'm going to shake Coach Dawson's hands, and I did not see the replay on the replay board. Well, they show the replay. And then Nashville's fans go totally quiet, and our fans just go stupid crazy. Well, some of our kids saw it, and they saw the replay. I think, from my understanding, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that some people from AAA got to that replay booth in a hurry and said, do not show that replay again. And obviously there was no high school replay at that time, but you see it, and it was all over the news. We still got clips of the play going around. I wish you had it where you can show it so everybody else can make their decision. But, we feel like he scored. I mean, it don't matter now. It's 7.
Oh, it does matter. Don't act like it don't matter.
But you tell me, did he score or did he not score?
Yeah. Well, you sent me a picture that says it scored. Now, I've got rumors coming out of Nashville.
You see, you said rumors. You didn't say pictures.
I got a fact coming out of Nashville that there was a Hall of Fame speech the other night, and Coach Dawson said that they still didn't make it. So it's back and forth and go from there. But I know in Warren, Arkansas, to this day, they still believe they scored, and there's no doubt about it. Let's go on to 2013. Well, another craziest game, state championship game, longest game in the history of Arkansas football. Go through that. I mean, doing your notes is you've been through some crazy stuff, but talk to us about that game.
And out of that 06 team, 4 of them or 3 out of the 4 went to Arkansas and ended up playing in the NFL. With Jarius Wright, Chris Greg Childs, and so go back to a little bit of that. The recruiting process of that was a lot better. Bobby Petrino came in, and I'm glad he did because that helped, with him when he come in, because I thought Greg was for sure going to, to Mississippi State, and Jarius was going either Oklahoma or Texas Tech, and then when that came in, and I think Petrino spent his second day in Arkansas all day and won. He was recruiting all 4 of them, but that worked out well for Arkansas, and they're all 4 or 3 doing really well right now. But in 13, it was the hottest December day I've ever seen. I remember us having a walk through out here before we left. We played at 7. That was one of the first years they played on Friday night. Back there for a little while, you played at 12 on Saturday and 6:30 on Saturday, and there wasn't games on Friday night. And that was one of the first ones to go back to playing on Friday night. And we had a walk through at 1, and we was out there in shorts and T-shirts on a Friday afternoon, and it was and then we go eat pregame, and it's just humid, and it was just you knew it was coming, and I don't know why we didn't put it off. I know years later when PA and Little Rock Creek, it's like we're the guinea pig. They didn't have instant replay, but now they do. I put off games, but now they do. PA and Little Rock Christians playing, and it wasn't even supposed to storm. It wasn't even hardly raining hard, and crap, they get to play on Sunday afternoon. But anyway, we're playing a Boonville team, and we show up at 5:00 over there, and we can't even take pictures outside. It's lightning so bad, and we had to take pictures underneath the home side, and that was just a cluster, to be honest with you. It wasn't the experience you get when you get to take them out in front of everybody. Out in the middle of the field, and so we start the game at 7:00. It's pouring down rain. You can't even see across the field, and I guess about midway through the first quarter, we have a lightning delay. And it lasts forever. I'm talking about that dang clock in the home dressing room. It's like it get down to 18 and go back to 30. Get down to 12, go back to 30. And so we finally put a towel over it. And so, man, I don't even look at that sucker. And so we go back out and we play almost halfway through the second quarter. And I wasn't very good coach at the time because I didn't have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I didn't have, anything that.
The Brad Bowden snacks. You didn't have the Brad Bowden
snacks at that time. So usually, you go play a game, you go from 7 to 9, 9:15, you're done. It's 9:15 and we're not even at halftime yet. And so we go in and, man, we're looking at the radar and we're like, man, if it can just break, we can throw the football. Man, we can throw it and catch it against them because, Boom was a 3-front team. They're going to bring the house. They're going to slant and move, and they're doing all that to – and it's raining, and they're just teeing off on us, and they're ground and pound, moving the ball, and they're up, 7-0 at the time, and so Lance Taylor comes down to me with, I don't know, he said, Coach, if we get back out there, we're not going to have a halftime. I'm like, no, we're going to have a halftime because this weather's going to break at some point. And as long as we can put it off now, we put it off. We're going to put it off. So we go out, we finish the first half. We go back in for halftime, and that's a 20-minute halftime. Then we go back out in the third quarter, and about midway through the third quarter, we have another lightning delay. So we have to go back in. And we start the second half at like 11:30, and we're down 14-0 at the time. It quits raining. We come back. We score with about 3 minutes to go in the game, 14-12, go for 2, and man, you don't want me calling you 2-point plays. My luck's not very good. And so we lose 14-12, and, it was the whole fourth quarter didn't rain a drop. And we scored 12 points, and first 3 quarters it rained enough, and it was raining so hard. But just very unfortunate that night. Boonville was a really good football team. Coach Hyatt was coaching them there, and we've had some unbelievable games with them.
Yeah, y'all matched up a bunch over the years. And now I hate to bring this up, so we go to another crazy situation. We'll head up a couple of years later, 2017, sitting in the state finals. You feel like you got a good team playing against a great J.R. Eldridge Arkadelphia team. You're in the red zone, fixing to take the lead, and lo and behold, a student runs on the field, and they so happen to be from Warren, Arkansas.
So they say.
That's what they say.
What they say. I've never seen the kid before or after, but they say he is from Warren.
Well, apparently somebody did. So you end up getting a 15-yard penalty, pulls you out.
Let me go back to you.
Into it. I want to hear it.
I want to tell you another story first of all, okay?
Yeah.
So back to the 13 state championship game, and Coach Elmore might get mad at me for saying this. So at that time, I don't know if you remember this or not, and I'm probably gonna get in trouble for telling y'all this story. So, but I'm on my, I've got a lot of years now. I can handle it.
Yeah.
But so we had to delay a week. Do you remember that? The ice storm came.
Yes,
Right, so we had to put, and we were always a week later than
Yep. 6, 8, 7, 8, 5, 8.
yeah. So as soon as we got out, we got beat on that Friday night. We didn't have school the next week. It was already Christmas break. So, and I think it was Saturday that next day. No, it was. It might have been Monday. It was one. It was one of the next couple of days after that. And this is the craziest story ever. Right? Y'all don't even know this story. Like you might not even know it. I wish you had Coach Elmore on after me. So I'm sitting at the house, and Elmore calls me. He says, "Hey man, you got your list of officials?" I said, "No, dude, I ain't got no list of officials." He said, "Well, I just left the feed store over here around Mansfield, wherever he lives at, Boonville. I left the feed store, and I'm sitting there just listening. They're talking about one of the officials the other night was from Boonville." I said, "Do what? In the state championship game?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Hold on a second. I'm finna go to the field house, get that list." So I run out here, I speed out here. And I go down. He goes, "Yep, that's him." And so I call Lance. And Lance is like, "Bo, there's no way that happened." I was like, "Dude, I'm just telling you." Because all they do is send you, like, before the game, they send you the referee's name. They don't send you the crew until you get there. Well, I just put it in the back of my pocket. And when I got home, I just,
Close.
the crew was from Fort Smith again.
Yeah.
So, get a little bit of that now. And Elmore's the one that found out.
Well, Bill, Coach Elmore is a great detective. He
And he just overheard the conversation.
Yeah. Well, get into it a little bit about the Arkadelphia game, because I'm sitting there watching that, and all of a sudden I hear, and I remember getting a text from Billy Elmore. Is this really happening?
It happened.
So obviously we had Traylon Burks, and we was playing, he was having an unreal game, which he had a bunch of them here. And we got the ball. We were down 28-27, and we were driving, and, we was running the clock, and it was a deal where we felt really good about our field goal kicker. And it was just a unique situation where, we were in our heavy package at the time, and we were, we called it playing 1-on-11. We snapped it to him, let him play Pee Wee football. And so it was like 22 seconds to go. We felt like we had enough for 2 more plays. And so we run a play, corner from Arkadelphia makes an unbelievable play. I mean, he does. I mean, I bet 9 out of 10 times Traylon makes that guy miss and walks in the end zone. But hey, he made a heck of a play on the 4-yard line, and so we're lining up, and we're just going to throw the ball out of bounds. Sitting there, just throw it out of bounds. We had a play call where we throw it. Our fullback runs to the flat. We throw it at him. He's going to knock it down. Which is, everybody said you can't spike out a shotgun. Well, you can spike. You just got to spike in a different way. And all of a sudden, if you go back and look at the film in the end zone view, the kid is actually on the field to play before, but nobody sees it. And so the kid's coming down the middle of the field, and the back judge blows it dead. And I don't have a clue what's going on until I see, like everybody else sees when he gets in vision. And then the cops come out there and they body slam him and do all that. And so then I don't know, it felt like it took forever. But they made 3 different decisions at the time. So first time, Jack Fulmer was the referee. He comes and says, "Coach, here's what we're going to do. We're going to spot the ball on the 4-yard line. We're going to start the clock on ready for play." So we send our field goal unit out there. All right. So our field goal unit goes out there. They're still huddled up. And then they come back to me. They said, look, you got to put the same guys you had on the field when the play dead. I said, okay, that's fine. So I put our offense back out there and said, okay, we're going to spike. I said, we're just going to run the same play we had called. We're going to spike it. We're going to kick a field goal. We make it. At least we got a chance. So I sent the offense back out there. They're still huddled up. And then they throw a flag. And then I come unglued. So I had a straight come apart. And they were going to give us a 15-yard penalty because the kid had an orange Gap shirt on. And they say he's from Warren. Well, our superintendent was sitting beside me. I said, do you know this dude? He's like, no, I ain't never seen a dude in my life. And so anyway, it was over a $5 Snapchat bet, I heard. I mean, that's what the rumor was. So they marked us off. The wind was blowing really hard at the time. It was blowing against us. It had been like an extra point from where we were. It backed us up to the 15-yard penalty, backed us up to like the 20, the 20-yard line, 18, 19-yard line. And it had been a 37. You went from a 17-yard field goal or 18-yard field goal to a 37-yard field goal. We didn't feel good about that. We ended up throwing an interception on the next play, ball game. That's probably the worst loss because I've seen it happen so many times. 2 weeks later in the NFL playoff game, a fan runs out on the field. Nothing happens. And so, the thing that bothers me about that is that I heard someone ran on the court this year in the state championship basketball game. There wasn't no technical foul issued. And so is that it took the game out of the kids' hands. They put it in the referee's hands. It's never been called before. We're not in charge of security at War Memorial Stadium. I mean, I never got that memo that we had to worry about people getting on the field. AAA is supposed to be in charge of that. And obviously, anyway, that could happen anywhere at any time. And it's sad that a bunch of kids gets penalized for that.
Well, it is.
We might have missed a field goal. We might have missed it, but you can live with that a lot more missing a field goal than it happening like it happened.
Because I got to watch, that group with trailing against Robinson. Y'all beat them in overtime that year. And this is my last question. I'll let Bray and Mouse down here about your team this year, and Bray wants to talk to you also. This is my last question. You sustained this in one place and had a lot of success doing it differently. We talked about you throwing the ball earlier. I've seen where you've attempted 2 passes and 1. I mean, you've done it a lot of different ways. In a town that size, number one, all the great players that have come out of there, and you've had a lot to do with that with their development. I firmly believe that. How do you sustain that success, and how do you even explain it? One place that long and all the success.
That's funny that you asked that because we were talking about you got turnover every year as coaches, and I've had some really good assistant coaches, and they'll come in and they'll be like, Coach, where the dudes at? And one of them that stands out is Casey Moreland. He's at Farmington now with Jay. He was at Arkadelphia on the year they beat us, but it's nothing. Our kids are so accountable every year. Like yesterday morning, we had 85 kids here, 7 through 12, and we'll get through working out at 8:30, and they'll sit here and play pickup football until I run them out of here. And we find kids they develop. So we got guys who are 7th graders that you would think that couldn't play. Then all of a sudden it's 9th graders that they just come every day. They don't quit. They just keep coming because they don't have anything else to do. And if you throw and catch enough, I mean, they're going to develop skills of throwing and catching. And, Warren's always been known for having really good athletes. And we just put a skill out there to be able to throw and catch. And another thing that helps us, I mean, is obviously that our kids make it when they go to college. You look and see that they make
or
it.
in the NFL too.
And that makes it easy for a college coach to come in and recruit a kid from Warren, is you can look back at the history of the guys who came from Warren and they all made it. They didn't drop out. They didn't quit. They didn't, they were able to make it. And then all of a sudden, you got something special. And just the kids come every day, man. We'll have 85 to 86 kids, 7 through 12 every day, Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 8:30. We work out together. I remember when Traylon Burks was here, we put them together. We don't separate junior high and high school here during the summer. So if we're running routes, Traylon Burks might catch from a 7th grader. And he's not going to say a word to that 7th grader. But you know how much pressure's on that 7th grader to throw a ball to Traylon Burks? That's a lot of pressure. That's probably more pressure than he's ever going to have in a 7th grade football game. And so that's stuff that we do here that I think that's really good is that we put them all together during the summer. If all the D linemen are together, all the receivers are together, all the quarterbacks are together, and they throw to each other. It's not one junior high here, high school here, 7th grade here. It's everybody. We're all in it together, and they work out together, and we've been doing that for a long time, and I think it pays off. I think it pays when we do 7-on-7 during the summer. They do it together, and them guys get better every day they do that.
Bray, I know you got a lot of questions.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. That's a cool way to do your summer program. And obviously, yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure on that 7th grader. That's good stuff. Question for you, coming from kind of where I'm at. So you obviously had some pretty incredible experiences that there's really not a good way to prepare for. I would guess some of those situations are a little insane. But if you could go back and start your career over, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently?
What would I do differently? Well, number one, I'd work on 2-point plays a lot more. That would probably be the first thing that stands out. But, football changed so much from year to year. From when you started, Bray, to when I started. It's just, but it all comes around in a circle. I remember back when I started, we didn't, you saw one high and you loved seeing one high, and you throw the football, and then everybody started going too high. And now I hate seeing one high again. It's just weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think obviously a big part of that is, your assistant coaches. What's one thing that you look for or that you, I guess, demand or want in an assistant coach? No, so that's good stuff.
Good stuff. All right. He's been dying to hear about your team in the conference over here. Go ahead, Mal.
Well, Coach Hembree, I will tell you, I remember when I met you, I believe 2006, 2007, you and Buck James and Scott Reed all interviewed with me for the Forest City head coaching job. Who would have ever guessed that you three guys have more state championships combined than anyone could ever count in their lifetime? Okay, so it worked out. It worked out well for every man that interviewed for that job. We've got one Coach James that's won 53 in a row in the state of Arkansas, I believe, and you've won 4 state championships, and Scott's won. Coach Reed's won 5. So that's more. Y'all got more jewelry than Antoine's Jewelers in El Dorado. Okay, but I am just. I want to hear about the 4A conference that you're in, and there's just the total 4A as a whole, because I watch Harding Academy. My niece goes there now. She's going to be a junior, and my nephew played on their 2 state championship teams his 11th and 12th grade years, and they've got a machine going there. And I just want to hear the grind. Everybody talks about the 7A West and 7A Central, but your 4A, that's a grind on you.
It is. And you make a good point, and we've talked about this, and us three have talked about it, and Bray and I have. In 4A, you know, your numbers aren't as big, and you got to play so many games. Going that long and keeping people healthy and keeping them practice. You know, I remember, you know, because I was always in bigger schools, but, you know, we'd play that first week in December. You know, that I don't know if we had enough juice in us to go another week. And so I agree with you 100%. It's toughest place to win one.
It was really tough.
It was most competitive league. Well, in with this, and I got to tell a story on this guy, is we played him, I guess it was 2000, played Warren, I was at Southside, 2014, and we played one of those preseason games, and my defense coordinator comes in and goes, "What do you know about this guy?" Because he knew we were good friends, and I said, "Let me break it down for you. He's going to run a trick play and score a touchdown within the first 3 plays of the game." And he said, "Oh, really?" So I'm just telling you it's going to happen. And so we go out there and we're playing, and I don't think the guy believed me. I knew what was going to happen. And so second play of the game, we kick off. Second play of the game, double reverse pass. They threw it. The guy was so open, it looked like he was fair catching a punt in the end zone. And I just start laughing on the sideline, and the defense coordinator, he's all upset over there, and I go, "I told you that on Sunday. I don't know what you're looking concerned about." And I just started laughing. And Coach Hembree's one of the – nobody watches more film than that guy and doesn't have his team prepared more than anybody. And he'll start grabbing people, friends, to watch his film. And, you know, he's going to bring out all stops. And what a true competitor and a great ambassador to our state as a coach. I mean, just – the sustain and what you've done. We had Billy Elmore for his Hall of Fame thing, and we just talked about, you know, people can stay somewhere 20 years. And I said, "You're the only guy I know that a coach till he's 80, and it can stay there for as long as he wants." But Coach Hembree, appreciate you having you on. We're going to visit with you during the year. You'll have a few top 10 games a week, and we'll have on you. Appreciate you being on, and good luck to you this year. We'll see you down the road soon.
Thanks, Coach.
Well, that's our episode with Coach Hembree. Coach Hembree, if this is Jeff Williams, Bray Cook, The Mouth. We'll see you next time on Coaches in the Mouth. Make sure you subscribe and like. See you later.